In the annals of NFL history, few names evoke as much awe and respect as Reggie White. Known as the Minister of Defense, White wasn't just a player, he was a force of nature that reshaped the game of football. But was he truly unstoppable? Let's dive into the extraordinary career of one of the most dominant defensive players the NFL has ever seen. Imagine a 6'5", 300-pound giant with the speed of a running back and the strength of a bulldozer. Now, picture that same giant lining up on the defensive line, ready to wreak havoc on opposing offenses. That was Reggie White, a man who struck fear into the hearts of quarterbacks and offensive linemen alike. White's journey to NFL greatness began in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where he first made a name for himself as a high school standout. His dominance continued at the University of Tennessee, where he set school records with 32 sacks and became a consensus All-American. But it was in the professional ranks where White truly became a legend. In 1984, White began his pro career with the Memphis Showboats of the USFL, where he recorded 23.5 sacks in just 2 seasons. When the USFL folded, White joined the Philadelphia Eagles, and the NFL would never be the same. From the moment he stepped onto an NFL field, White was a game changer. In his rookie season with the Eagles, he racked up 13 sacks in just 13 games, earning him the NFC Defensive Rookie of the Year award. But that was just the beginning. In 1987, White put together one of the most dominant seasons by a defensive player in NFL history. In a strike-shortened 12-game season, he amassed an incredible 21 sacks, setting a record for sacks per game that still stands today. Former Eagles head coach Buddy Ryan once said of White, "He was unblockable. I've never seen anyone dominate like that." White's combination of size, speed, and technique made him a nightmare for offensive linemen. He could overpower them with his strength or blow past them with his quickness. His signature move, the club and swim, became legendary. He would swat away an offensive lineman's hands with one powerful arm, then swim over them with the other, leaving a clear path to the quarterback. But White wasn't just a pass rusher, he was equally dominant against the run, often requiring double or even triple teams to keep him at bay. As former Packers teammate Leroy Butler put it, "Reggie was like a wall. You just didn't run to his side of the field." One of White's most memorable performances came in Super Bowl 31 with the Green Bay Packers. Facing the New England Patriots, White sacked quarterback Drew Bledsoe 3 times in the second half, tying a Super Bowl record and helping secure the Packers' victory. It was a performance that cemented White's legacy as one of the greatest to ever play the game. White's impact went beyond individual games. He was a key factor in turning around the fortunes of 2 franchises. In Philadelphia, he was the cornerstone of the Eagles' feared defense under Buddy Ryan. Then, as a free agent in 1993, he chose to sign with the Green Bay Packers, a move that helped transform them from perennial underachievers to Super Bowl champions. But to truly understand White's greatness, we need to look at the numbers. Over his 15-year NFL career, White accumulated 198 sacks, which was the all-time record when he retired. He was selected to 13 consecutive Pro Bowls and was named first-team All-Pro 8 times. He was also a 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. To put these numbers in context, let's compare White to other defensive greats. Lawrence Taylor, often considered the greatest defensive player ever, had 132.5 sacks in his career. Bruce Smith, who eventually broke White's sack record, took 19 seasons to surpass White's total. And neither Taylor nor Smith could match White's consistency, as evidenced by his streak of 13 straight Pro Bowl selections. White's dominance wasn't just about statistics, though. It was about the way he changed the game. Offensive coordinators had to game plan specifically to deal with White. Extra blockers were often assigned to his side of the field, opening up opportunities for his teammates. As former Packers general manager Ron Wolf said, "Reggie made everyone around him better. He was that rare player who elevated the entire team." One of the most telling indicators of White's impact was how he performed in crucial moments. In playoff games, when the stakes were highest, White seemed to find another gear. He recorded 12 sacks in 19 career playoff games, including his memorable 3-sack performance in the Super Bowl. White's greatness extended beyond the field as well. An ordained minister, he was known for his leadership and character in the locker room. He was a unifying presence, respected by teammates and opponents alike. This combination of on-field dominance and off-field leadership made him one of the most influential players of his era. But was Reggie White truly unstoppable? The answer, according to those who played with and against him, is a resounding yes. Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre White's teammate in Green Bay, once said, "I'm glad I only had to face Reggie in practice. I can't imagine trying to game plan against him every week." Even the few offensive linemen who had some success against White speak of him with a mix of respect and awe. Eric Williams, one of the few tackles who could hold his own against White, said, "Even when you thought you had him blocked, he'd find a way to make a play. He was relentless." White's impact on the game is still felt today. He set the standard for what a dominant defensive end could be, paving the way for future stars like Julius Peppers and J.J. Watt. His combination of size, speed, and technique remains the blueprint for elite defensive linemen. In the end, Reggie White's legacy goes beyond his impressive statistics or even his on-field dominance. He changed the way the game was played. He forced offenses to evolve, to find new ways to try to contain him. And more often than not, they failed. Was Reggie White unstoppable? The evidence suggests that he was as close to unstoppable as any player in NFL history. He was a unique talent, a player who combined physical gifts with technical skill and an unmatched work ethic. He was, in the truest sense of the word, a game changer. As we look back on Reggie White's career, it's clear that we witnessed something special. He wasn't just a great player, he was a force of nature, a defensive juggernaut who left an indelible mark on the NFL. In an era of incredible athletes and unforgettable performances, Reggie White stood alone. The Minister of Defense may have hung up his cleats years ago, but his impact on the game of football continues to resonate. He set a standard of excellence that few have matched and none have surpassed. Reggie White wasn't just a player. He was a legend, a titan of the gridiron whose legacy will endure as long as the game is played. In the pantheon of NFL greats, Reggie White's name is spoken with reverence. He was more than unstoppable. He was unforgettable. And in the end, that may be his greatest legacy of all. To truly appreciate White's dominance, we must consider the era in which he played. The late 1980s and 1990s saw a revolution in offensive strategies, with teams increasingly relying on complex passing attacks. Yet, even as offenses evolved, White remained a constant threat, adapting his game to counter new schemes and techniques. His versatility was another key factor in his success. While primarily known as a defensive end, White could play anywhere on the defensive line. This flexibility allowed his coaches to move him around, creating mismatches and confusion for opposing offenses. Whether lining up on the edge or in the interior, White was a disruptive force that demanded attention. White's impact extended beyond just his on-field performance. He was a leader in every sense of the word, often serving as a mentor to younger players and a voice of reason in the locker room. His strong faith and moral convictions earned him respect across the league, even from opponents who dreaded facing him on the field. The Minister of Defense nickname wasn't just a clever play on words. It spoke to White's dual nature as both a fearsome competitor and a man of deep faith. This combination made him a unique figure in NFL history, someone who could dominate on Sundays and then deliver a sermon with equal passion. White's legacy also includes his role in changing the landscape of free agency in the NFL. His high-profile move from the Eagles to the Packers in 1993 was one of the first major free agent signings in league history. It demonstrated the power that star players could wield in shaping their careers and the fortunes of their teams. As we consider whether Reggie White was truly unstoppable, it's worth noting that even the greatest players have off days or face opponents who can neutralize their strengths. However, what set White apart was his consistency. Game after game, season after season, he produced at an elite level. The sheer rarity of a player maintaining such a high standard of performance over a 15-year career is what elevates White from merely great to legendary. In the years since White's retirement, the NFL has seen many talented defensive players come and go. Yet, few have managed to combine raw physical talent, technical skill, leadership, and longevity in the way that White did. His career serves as a benchmark against which all defensive linemen are measured. The impact of Reggie White's career extends far beyond his individual achievements. He helped redefine the importance of the defensive end position in the modern NFL. Today's pass rush specialists, who command top dollar in free agency and are often selected high in the draft, owe a debt to White for elevating the profile of defensive linemen. As we reflect on Reggie White's career and ponder whether he was truly unstoppable, perhaps the most telling evidence comes from those who faced him on the field. Offensive linemen who prided themselves on their ability to neutralize top pass rushers often speak of White with a mix of awe and frustration. Many admit that even on their best days, they could only hope to slow him down, never truly stop him. In the end, the The question of whether Reggie White was unstoppable may be beside the point. What matters is the indelible mark he left on the game of football. He was a player who transcended statistics and accolades, becoming a symbol of excellence and integrity in a sport that often struggles with both. Reggie White's legacy serves as an inspiration to players at all levels of the game. He showed that it's possible to be both a fierce competitor and a person of strong character. He demonstrated that with talent, hard work, and dedication, one can achieve greatness that endures long after the final whistle has blown. As we look to the future of the NFL, we can only wonder when we might see another player of Reggie White's caliber. Until then, we can appreciate the fact that we were fortunate enough to witness the career of a truly special player, one who redefined what it meant to be a defensive force in the NFL. The Minister of Defense may no longer patrol the gridiron, but his spirit lives on in every player who strives for excellence, in every defensive lineman who dreams of wreaking havoc in the backfield, and in every fan who appreciates the artistry and power of a truly dominant defensive player. Reggie White was more than just a football player. He was a force of nature, a game changer, and an icon. Was he unstoppable? Perhaps not in the literal sense, but in terms of his impact on the game, his influence on his teammates and opponents, and his enduring legacy, Reggie White was, and remains, an unstoppable force in the annals of NFL history.